Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time doing another DC comic review, and this one is on Mera, Queen of Atlantis. Now, as you know, Mera, Queen of Atlantis is a 6-issue miniseries that is not only meant to cover the sort of lives of Ocean Master and Mera, but what path they take, and the life that they have given to them, but how they handle it and the responsibility they take with it. So the premise of the story starts off how in a small sort of house near the beach, we see how Norm is telling his girlfriend's son a sort of bedtime story, saying, "Did that really happen? Tell me another." No, young one, it's time for you to slumber. Tomorrow I will tell you the story of the Fleet Master Orlok in the Reef Wall. Sleep well, Tommy. Night, Dad. And we do kind of see how Norm has this amazing life and finally has something he could finally be happy with. Again, he's got a sort of girlfriend who cares about him, a potential stepson who admires him, but we even becomes clear, due to seeing news coverage of Mera and all that, it's clear that Norm still holds on to Atlantis, Aquaman, as well as Mera, like a ball on a chain. And this does remind me a lot of Cassandra from Tangled. Much like Ocean Master, both of them tend to bring out the worst in themselves. They both have moments to be happy and even to have something amazing, but they constantly mess it up for themselves. And we do kind of see how, obviously, at the sort of Bay Area, we see how Mera is dealing with the eel, and we see how, much like her, he also has the ability to conjure up water and use it as a weapon. But due to Mera sort of slowly healing after the events of Aquaman issue 30, she's of course an easier target for one of the villains. And we see how Mera has to kind of try to kind of use her surroundings, her skills in that, to avoid being killed, but even remembers her life with Aquaman, being amazed by his world, and even remembers her time on basically XL, but even remembers her training and everything else. We see how Mera decides to kind of use her skills, and of course takes out the eel without kind of getting badly injured. And we see how she brings up, obviously the eel, well, we do see how Tula has to make sure that obviously Mera's okay. And it's kind of interesting how in the new 52 continuity and onward, Tula is supposed to be the half-sister of basically Ocean Master, but also making them perfect foils to each other. Like Tula being a bit more supportive and understanding, Norm being power-hungry, believing he's in the right, and so forth. But we do kind of see how obviously the police show up and everything, and we see how after the Justice League bring Neo into Justice League custody, we do kind of see how it turns out Arthur, who's meant to be Aquaman, is dealing with a civil war with the sort of tyrannical king ruler known as Wrath, who's taken over her homeland. And we do see how Arthur does everything in his power to make sure Wrath doesn't go too far. But we do kind of see how obviously Mera has to make sure that there's no potential screw-ups, and obviously Arthur is trying to handle this more responsibly. And obviously, after getting some motivation and ideas, we do see how she ends up at Washington, D.C. at the State Department, obviously trying to handle things with the sort of secretaries and all that. And even talks about her homeland, XL. But we even do see how Mera points out, if anything does happen, they'll try and kind of work things out. And after being driven back home, she also remembers these sort of dreams they could have had with a sort of wedding between her and Aquaman, and the sort of life that she wants. And obviously, we do see how Mera wants this sort of new and amazing life. We do see how later on during the night, well, obviously Norm is looking at Arin as well as Tommy playing. I think the story makes it clear, due to kind of wanting to go back to Atlantis, Norm still sees it as a ball on a chain that's slowly going to bring him back to his old habits, making it clear that Ocean Master is far from gone. And this is the story. So I think obviously issue 1 is kind of okay, but it does show you the difference between Mera as well as Ocean Master. Mera wants this amazing life and will do anything to have it. Norm has every opportunity given to him, but messes it up, and it becomes clear that he's slowly sinking back to old habits. And it's clear from that moment on, it will hit you over the head that he's going to make the wrong decisions, than actually be happy with what he has. Definitely a good story, definitely interesting, and definitely a cautionary tale about the dangers of going back into old habits and leaving things in the past alone. So it definitely deserves thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, kind of okay, despite a weak start. So, comic book reviewer here, signing out.